can't believe we came all the way to New York City for this. I thought we'd at least go to a convention or something.
Dude, come on. I've heard the urban legend about the government disposing toxic waste into sewers here since I was a kid, and I want to check it out.
Yeah, but why?
Because I want to see if it caused any weird mutations.
It sounds a lot like the movie we just watched.
Yeah, exactly! Imagine if we discovered some mutated creature down there. It would be a GYS exclusive. We'd be famous.
Yeah. Hey, maybe you'll find a Ninja Turtle.
Oh, that would be so cool. Raph was awesome, but Michelangelo was the party dude. Come on, who was your favorite?
I don't know. Leonardo?
Nerd?
Excuse me?
Never mind. You coming or what?
Nah, I'm good. You enjoy your spelunking.
Fine, you stay here while I go make a discovery of a lifetime.
I wonder if there's a place nearby where I can grab a slice. Back so soon? So, I take it you didn't make any wonderful discovery then?
No, I did not.
Okay, so what did you discover?
Shit. Lots and lots of shit.
Story of my life, pal.
I need a shower.
Welcome to the Graveyard Shift Horror Podcast, where each week we watch a movie suggested by one of our listeners, and we break it down into the good, the bad, and when necessary, any other category we decide to make up along the way. We'll talk about lots of things like the plot, production details, and pretty much anything else we find fun or relevant. I'm your host Sheldon, and I never worked a graveyard shift alone. Please say hello to my favorite sewer dweller, my co-host Mike.
Hey, everybody.
Mike, you sound a little hoarse. What's going on, man?
I'm not a little horse, I'm a big person.
Oh God, I just thought maybe you had a sore throat from all the talking you were doing at Comicon, chatting up all those people.
You thought I had con throat?
Yeah, exactly.
It was a fun time, but we'll be able to get into that on another episode.
Yeah, lots of good stuff there, but everyone got to be patient. Come on, patience is a virtue.
Yeah, we're still busy collecting ourselves, getting rich out of lockup. We had to get the crew back together and get all the audio compiled before we can release that. But yeah, we got stories.
I gotta say, man, I just don't think he's worth the cost of the bail money. To be honest. But he does have all the audio, so I guess we better get him out.
Yeah.
All right, so we have got a movie that I'm familiar with in the sense that I had seen the movie before, but I did not remember a whole lot about it. I was a little kid when I watched it, so I needed a refresher. And there's a big difference between how I remembered it and how it actually is. So why don't you tell everybody what we got for them this week?
Today's episode is Contrived, Hamfisted, Underwritten, Dreck. Because we watched C.H.U.D.
We sure did. So, Mike, before we get into any real details, what do you think about this one?
Ooh, a name which sounds about as appealing as the plot to this movie.
Yeah. I remember this being a lot better. Actually, it's probably because, again, you're watching horror movies as a kid, you don't really have this
taste,
this discerning taste that we've built up over the years, right? So a horror movie is a horror movie type of thing. I was going to say this one was better in concept than execution, but then again, the concept wasn't that great either. So
you don't think a remake would save this?
I don't think so. I don't think even then, we'll get into the details for sure about what worked and didn't work about this. But yeah, it's I think a remake would just be a rehash of things we've seen so many times before, and even back when this movie was first made, it might have been an original idea, but it doesn't mean it was a good one. So, this is what I got to say about that. But anyway, here is some details on C.H.U.D. Released in August of 1984, C.H.U.D is an American horror movie starring Daniel Stern and John Hurd. It has a runtime of 88 minutes, one of the few good things about this movie, has an R rating, had a budget of $1.25 million, and had a box office return of $4.7 million. So this thing actually made some money.
Wow.
Nearly 4 times its budget back. So, yes, this movie was, at the time, was considered a success. For people that are still concerned about Rotten Tomatoes scores, Rotten Tomatoes gives this one, nothing to be proud of. 29% from the critics, and not a whole lot better from the audience, who gave it a 32. If you're wondering about the plot,
keep wondering.
Series of sudden disappearances on a bizarre series of sudden disappearances on the streets of New York City seems to point towards something unsavory living in the sewers. So, yeah, that is a good summary. That's pretty much what happens in this movie. People disappear, and it's something connected with something in the sewers. And
good job, IMDb. You finally get your shit together on a movie that doesn't rate it.
Yeah, I don't know why. I should just do my own summaries, but like it's always like a last minute thing. It's like, oh, I need to do a summary, and I just steal it from IMDb. And one time I even stole it from the wrong movie, and it still seemed to fit. So I'm not going to tell you which one though. Everyone will go back to our old episodes and try to figure that one out.
Yeah, we need the download, so just check all of them.
Yeah, just listen to everything again, but download it on a different format than you previously did. So.
And a different device.
So this was actually suggested to us by listener Ryan K. If you have a movie that you want us to cover on a future episode of the show, then just stick around till the end, and we're going to tell you all the ways you have to do that. And there's quite a few of them. So, all right, so we're going to do like we always do with every horror movie that we watch on the show. We are going to break it down into the good and the bad. And this can be anything we liked or didn't like about it, whether it was something as specific as a certain line of dialogue, certain character, certain scene, or something as broad as an overall theme. If it's good, we'll talk about it. If it's bad, we'll talk about it even more. And I know for a fact that that's going to the bads are going to be much more dominant in this one. So let's go for it, shall we? Now, we always start with the good, and of course, we always start with the Mike. So, Mike, I'm actually very curious of what you're going to bring up. What do you have for the good for this movie?
The opening of this movie must have been a heavy inspiration for Ninja Turtles. You got the overhead view of New York City panning down to the street, and then the manhole cover shifting suddenly. Like, didn't the movie begin like that? Or at least the cartoon had that, the overhead shot from the sky going down to the city.
Yeah, I know for sure that the cartoon did. I don't really offhand remember how the movie started. But, yeah, like that, it was very reminiscent. Except that, the Ninja Turtles didn't pull April O'Neil down to the sewers to eat her and her dog, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was like the first draft that got rejected by Eastman and Laird.
Oh, that R-rated original version of Ninja Turtles. I'm pretty sure April O'Neil got eaten in that one.
Well, they did have some some garbage mutated guys. Like they went with the toxic Avenger route. Didn't they have like Muckman or something?
I don't remember him. I remember the Rat King.
There was another guy. I'm pretty sure like he was mutated. Like he was very garbagey. Yeah.
The Ninja Turtles, if you look at the series, like the original cartoon of the Ninja Turtles, there was a lot of inspiration from horror and sci-fi movies in there. Even at one point, I know this is getting ridiculous, but there was they met 3 aliens that were named Klaatu, Verada, Nektu.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of inspiration there, but
plus toxic waste going into the sewers, creating monsters. Like the Ninja Turtles, Eastman and Laird had to have seen this movie and thought, yeah, this is definitely what we got to do. Yeah,
but this movie was made after the original Ninja Turtles cartoon that the comic was based on. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. This movie was released after the original Ninja Turtles comic that the TV show was based on.
Oh, they were only ripping off Daredevil at the time instead of this.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was anyway. But yeah, so back to your point, it was very reminiscent of Ninja Turtles.
Shit, was this ripping off the Ninja Turtles comic?
Possibly.
If toxic waste going into the sewers and creating interesting abominations came out before this movie, then they could have ripped it off. Man.
Yeah.
Inception.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I think instead of having homeless people living in the sewers turning into monsters, it should have been like the alligators that lived in the sewers, that, like, you know, baby alligators that people flushed down, they got mutated and turned into like alligator men. Like,
I mean, if you want to have an abbreviation, how about that? Chomps. And it's
go.
just like radioactive alligators.
Yeah. But then again, I guess that would be very similar to Ninja Turtles as well. Except it'd be like pre-pubescent alligator sumo wrestlers or something.
The Leatherhead Squad.
Oh boy, this is a weird tangent. Okay, let's get back on track. Okay, yes, Ninja Turtles, good.
Okay, what's your good?
That's where we were going with this, right?
Yep.
It was a prequel to Home Alone.
Yeah. Who knew that that Kevin's dad was the original partner of one of the Wet Bandits?
Yeah. So what happened here is that Kevin McAllister's dad, he was originally with this woman, but after they went to this traumatic event, they couldn't stay together. So he went changed careers, became a businessman instead, and married like another woman and started a huge family. While Daniel Stern was finally got tired of being a preacher and turned to a life of crime.
Well, yeah, living on the streets and being neglected and, being in America. He's just like, you know what, no one's ever going to lift us up. We got to lift ourselves up. And if they're not going to hire us, then we're going to make money through the other original hustle.
Exactly. Oh, no, I bet, yeah, he sued the government and won a huge lawsuit. And
drank it all.
No, Kevin McAllister's dad. And that's how he could afford that giant house in Home Alone. And to have all those kids and take his family on these luxury vacations all the time.
And years later, Daniel Stern finally finds him and decides to knock over his house for cutting him out.
Yeah, exactly. He screwed Daniel Stern out of the lawsuit somehow, out of the payoff. So there we go. So there, see, we've connected everything together. It's a prequel to Home Alone, and it really puts a whole different spin. Now, you'll never think of Home Alone the same way again. And that's why they plan. It never happened, but they planned to put some of the C.H.U.Ds into have the C.H.U.Ds return in one of the sequels, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah, they thought about delivering them accidentally as presents, and it didn't work out.
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else for the good?
I have something here. It must be a line from the movie because I didn't put quotes in there, but I'm just guessing. And it goes, "What kind of monster takes the mutton and ignores the veal?"
I have no idea what that's about.
I think it may have. It was either a line from the movie, because we also watched this with Joe Bob.
We did, yeah.
So I can't remember if it was one of the cops, because it was either him or Joe Bob's comment. Because when the little girl was attacked in the phone booth, the old man, her grandfather gets taken. And somebody said, "What kind of monster takes the mutton and ignores the veal?"
Yeah,
they couldn't explain why the girl wasn't taken.
I don't remember exactly hearing that, but that definitely sounds like something Joe Bob would say. That's got to be a Joe Bob quote. Yeah, good catch. That's the only way that I could, I'm so glad that I watched it that way. We watched this on Shudder as part of one of Joe Bob's specials. Drive-in specials, and I'm so glad I did it that way, because even though it made the movie twice as long, it made it twice as bearable. So
what is your next good?
My next good was just reminiscing about the 80s, that somebody that looked like John Hurd could actually land a model. And, it was one of the few good things about the 80s, so that was nice. Because he's not that much of he wasn't really an attractive man. At least not in 1984 he wasn't, anyway.
No, Daniel Stern seemed like a more attractive option, and then we're talking about Daniel Stern.
Jeez, Daniel Stern looked like a meth head before being a meth head was a thing. Holy shit, dude! The guy, like, seriously, like, he must have gotten better looking as he got older, because holy shit.
He's covered up with he's still got the beard, but now it's white, so I guess he looks more sage.
Oh, okay. But I don't know. I haven't seen him lately, but oh my god, that was fucking scary. And this was even before he turned into Kevin McAllister. That's like a deep cut right there that like none of our younger viewers are going to get at all.
No, don't you mean Kevin Arnold?
What did I say? Kevin McAllister?
Yes, you said McAllister.
Oh shit, Kevin Arnold from. I'm talking about Wonder Years. God damn it, whichever one was in the Wonder Years.
More like the Blunder Years.
Oh Jesus Christ! You know what? I didn't drink enough before recording. That's what's happening.
Your tongue is too tight. You need to loosen it up with some liquor.
Yeah. Kevin Arnold. That's the one. Fuck's sake. This is gonna be... Fuck this movie. Jesus Christ. This is the kind of shit that happens when we watch a movie that I didn't like enough to want to talk about.
That's what you get for putting it off.
Yeah, really. All right, please. Do you have anything else good? Because...
Yeah, I do. The shower head in this movie looks like Johnny Five.
It does. I got that too.
Is this the first time we've seen soap in a shower scene? Is this the first time we've seen someone bathing appropriately in a shower?
Oh. Maybe, because usually people just like rub water on themselves, don't they? And
yeah, because apparently that gets rid of all the oil and bacteria.
But this woman, she was like, fuck that. If I'm getting in here, I'm actually taking a shower.
And apparently the nude scenes were cut from this movie. Apparently, like, the original release had the tits in it, but it was like body double tits.
Whose were they, though? Were they John Hurd's?
He's not that fat.
No, he's not. That's the thing. But for some... He's one of these dudes that like had like skinny legs and ass and arms, but somehow had like man boobs and a gut. It's like, Jesus, pick one or the other, dude. Come on.
Are you skinny or chubby? Come on.
It was the 80s.
Again,
commit. It was the 80s, man. People look weird, all right?
Generational dysmorphia.
Yeah. It's like, that's why like someone that looked like John Hurd could land someone who was a model because, you know.
Maybe he was fat and slim at the time and then his body inverted and she's like, well, I guess I'm stuck with him.
But yeah, I have the note too, the Johnny Five showerhead. You see, kids, back in the 80s, there was another movie called Short Circuit. Holy shit, Short Circuit came after this movie.
Oh my god, Johnny Five ripped off the shower head from
Oh my
C.H.U.D.
god, somebody saw this movie, saw that shower head and said, haha, that looks like it could be the head of a robot. And then, wrote a screenplay from that.
It's a robot created from radioactive waste. Wait a second, that's a little too contrived. How about he gets hit by lightning? Nobody ever questions lightning. Okay, sure.
Well,
lightning is magic.
Lightning is movie magic, man. Everything gets created by lightning.
Well, yeah, it's God's energy that falls from the sky.
Mm-hmm. As long as your God is Thor.
Okay, so what's your next good?
Oh my god. I actually stopped writing goods after this, but I'm sure I can, if I try really, really hard and dig deep, I can think of something. No, I'm good. I'm all out. There's nothing to talk about. Like, this movie was not good.
The last good I saw was one of the lines when they're in the sewers and someone recognizes the Reverend and they're like, you run the soup kitchen? Ah, thank God they deliver.
I don't get it.
Because he's in the sewer rather than in the soup kitchen, and they thought he was delivering food.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It wasn't that good, but I didn't consider it a bad. Maybe that was a mistake.
I didn't even get it at first. It's like you had to explain it to me. It's like, Isn't that like the fucking worst though, when you tell somebody a joke that you think is funny and it's like they don't get it and then you gotta like fucking explain it to them.
Yeah, and you're like, maybe the autopsy will save it.
Oh my god. And then you just kinda go like, okay, yeah, I get it.
That would have been, yeah. That would have been funny, yeah.
Then you go back to your office and feel sad and drink your coffee alone.
and then say to yourself, stupid Sheldon.
Stupid.
Okay, I'm ready for the bads. And boy, there's a lot.
Yes.
Welcome to the bulk of the episode.
Yep. Fuck. Okay, I'm just gonna go right off of that. None of these people could fucking act. Well, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. Because some of these people can act. They chose not to for this fucking movie. Because holy shit, this was fucking awful. Everybody, like everyone was just like, literally, like it felt like they had just read their lines just before they called action.
Oh, you mean like one instance when the photographer is uncharacteristically really upset about the perfume industry?
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact that this is a fucking job, and he has to go off the rails like yelling about how they test this shit on animals, but sure, make it look good for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, hold on. You're like 6'2", okay? Get off the soapbox. You don't need it.
And I'm pretty sure like somebody gave Daniel Stern like a shot of speed just before every one of his scenes, because like he's like on edge and climbing around and just like so animated, and it's like, you need to fucking calm down, man. Like, you should be somebody that's, like, at the very least suffering from malnutrition. You should not have this much energy.
He's so fucking bony.
Holy shit. Like, no, and like I said, like, these are people that, you know, maybe not, like, A-list, like, star caliber, but, like people that have had successful careers. And long careers. Like, this is just... So I have no idea where this came from. It's, like, just as bad as, Q, the Winged Serpent, when you realize that the guy that played the criminal in that is like an Oscar-nominated actor. And like, he certainly didn't earn it from his performance in that movie.
No, he channeled half the henchmen from the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Like, he channeled a Looney Tunes mobster.
So, honestly, like, John Goodman was in this movie, and I'll just skip ahead because I should have put this in my good. But John Goodman appeared in this movie, and like I like him. Like, I always think like everything he's in, he always does a great job. He probably did the most believable role in this movie.
A fat cop that likes coffee.
And he was on screen for like all of like like a bad cop in a crappy diner, which is like as about as New York as it gets right there. And like, he was just like he at least acted like a normal person and spoke like, you know, kind of like he's a cop, but kind of a dirtbag as well. And honestly, that whole scene in the diner was probably the most realistic scene until, like, you know, monsters crash the windows and eat everybody. But at least it seemed like it was a little bit real. You know, a couple of cops harassing a waitress, but she didn't really care because it probably happens to her like all the time.
Yeah, she realizes if she goes along with it, it helps with the tip.
Yeah. And, yeah, so, like, that was probably the example of the best acting in the movie. And it was a scene that lasted, like, what, all of, like, 2 minutes. And it was done. And nobody would have guessed that out of all of these people, John Goodman probably would have became, like, the biggest star of all of them. You know, like, a hit series. Actually, I mean... In another one now, and then like several like movie roles, like where he's done like a phenomenal job. So you never know what kind of talent you're going to unlock, right?
Oh yeah, all these acting students, and then one guy who probably just showed up, answered an ad to, like, you know, wear a fat cop suit and hang out in a diner for 2 minutes. He answered that call, and he's the one that gets like a massive series that lasts multiple years.
Yeah.
And then gets another one, and another one, and then several major movies.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's, I don't know what the fuck happened, man. Like, the talent that was involved should have done a lot better than this. All right, what do you got for the bad? Lay it on me.
First one. Like there's two homeless people named Victor and Hugo. I have a feeling all these artsy fartsy actors snuck a literary reference bias.
Yeah.
And like that was just a quick one. My meaty one is, does this police chief really want to find his wife?
Yeah, what the hell?
For a guy whose partner is missing, he is really just another day at the office.
Yep. He didn't even report her missing. Like, that's... I didn't get that. Like, my wife watched this with me as well, and that was, like, one of the first things she brought up. So he's like, she said, wait a minute, like, does anyone know that his wife is missing? I don't think he's, like, reported it. And, like, later on as it plays out, we're like, no, like, I don't think he has.
No, you'd think, like, to sell this, that they would have him calling the station, like, yeah, McGillicuddy, McPherson, have you gotten anything yet? Well, canvass the spot again. This is my wife we're talking about. Like, just, like, appear nervous, agitated, bereft, something.
Yeah.
We only get it after she's been found. Then he's at the bar, like, oh man, like, what, my lady, my wife.
Yeah. And I'll go right to this since you brought it up. I brought my bad list. I'm like, so they found a severed head that's badly decomposed, and immediately one of these cops recognizes as the captain's wife right away, and literally says, like, "Holy shit, it's his wife! Don't let him look." I'm like, wow, you could tell that was his wife, because I thought, like, you just discovered, like, a mannequin head, first of all, which it probably was. But, yeah, I don't think anybody there was identifying it right away as, like, this guy's wife.
Yeah, that was just, like, way too... That's what you call contrived writing.
Yeah. There's... Oh, my God. All right, what else you got for the bad? You must have more.
Reverend Stern seems real ungrateful that his missing persons call has an actual response by a ranked officer.
Yeah.
You think you'd be like, oh, wow, they sent the detective here. Thank you for taking my call seriously. He is just like, what are you doing here? It's like, motherfucker, you got a call about homeless people, which nobody gives a fuck about. And somebody came here to give a fuck. How about you just actually, be happy? You can ask your questions without looking like a fucking asshole.
Yeah. No, that is true. He did not seem like... I mean, some of your friends are missing. Who cares, like, what cop shows up, right? Like, as long as somebody's responding to it and we'll actually look into it, like, maybe just go with it.
How about you? What else bad you got?
Okay, so I didn't know whether to put this on bad, like, or not, but, like, I think I had to because it was just kind of bugging me.
In this movie, this is where the benefit of the doubt takes any point of the movie.
Because I know sometimes when we find something that, like, just confuses us to, like, an extreme point, we do our what the fuck category. It wasn't enough to do that, but it's not really good or bad. It just got me wondering.
So it's puzzling, but not jarring.
Is how the sewer systems, like in a big city, the way that they're portrayed in movies, is that accurate? Are there big, like, cavernous labyrinths underneath the cities where...
Man, I got my own questions. Like, do you have sewer access in your apartment basement?
No, I don't know, and I hope not.
Do you have, like, do you have a hatch that you can just open in the basement to walk amongst the rain gutters and the waste disposal pipes?
You you mean can I, like, walk into, like, go down to the basement of this building, open up a cover, open up a hatch and crawl into the sewers and then, like, pop up in any area of the city that I want to? Probably not.
Are you sure? Because this movie seemed to indicate that was quite feasible, unless only photographer apartments have sewer access.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've always wondered about that because, I mean, like, it gets portrayed all the time, and every little string of common sense in my body, like, wants me to say, like, no, that's not possible. I mean, come on, there can't be... I understand that they have to be big enough that, there's sometimes workers have to go down there and do stuff, but is it really, like, these huge open spaces, multiple levels, and, like, big enough that, if people wanted to, they could live down there. Like, that can't be a real thing. I have no idea.
Damn it. Next time you come to Ottawa, we should get some hard hats, some rubber boots, some flashlights, and just... Well, you seem to be the stout guy, so I think you can handle lifting the manhole cover.
Christ.
And we can just go on a little subterranean adventure and put these questions to rest.
Yeah.
At least on the Canadian side. We'll have to ask some of our American...
We'll spend the weekend in the sewers and see how that turns out.
We'll have to ask our American listeners if any of you are in waste management disposal, or you just, ran away from home and decided the underpass was a little too sketchy, and you spend some time in the sewers.
Somebody that's taken their Pennywise cosplay way too far. Let us know.
Yeah, call us, let us know. Are there any livable areas in the sewers?
Is the sewer underneath your city like a goddamn concrete labyrinth?
Is there an undercity to your city?
Exactly. I'm not even joking. I really want to know. Like, what the fuck? Is this a real thing?
Yeah,
or
please.
Is this just like another movie, just another movie thing?
This leads to my own reality question. Why do these uniforms have leg casts for footwear? And why does the Nuclear Regulatory Commission look like Space Force G.I. Joes?
Yeah.
I mean, the equipment that they leave behind for homeless man and for homeless reverend and cop is really clean for discarded equipment. And their Geiger counter does a bad job of conveying any level of radiation with 4 red squares.
Yeah.
Nothing ever climbs like 1 tick for 1 square, 2 ticks for 3 squares. Anything from small to large clicks are all 4 red squares. Not even the greens and yellows. They have greens and yellows, but nothing shows up in those safe levels. It is only danger squares.
Yeah. Well, I got that when it came to the scene about the Geiger counter. It's like, how the count, the intensity of the beeping on the Geiger counter is like climbing, becoming more intense and more often and higher pitched, which is like, they don't know it at the time, but what it means is that one of these radioactive creatures is getting closer and closer to them. But then it just stops. I'm like, so if that thing turned around and went back or moved in another direction, shouldn't that mean it should gradually fade out, not stop? Or did that thing just teleported? Or fell into a big hole or something? Like there was another manhole cover, like some kind of sub-manhole cover, underneath in the sewers.
The undercity.
Yeah, it's like the under sewer. And somebody left the cover off and he just stepped into it. And yeah, I was like, okay, that's not how that... If that worked, it shouldn't work that way. But, okay, so I'm glad you brought that up. One of the things I had to mention was just, I'm usually the one that brings up about practical effects and prosthetics and everything like that. And I don't want to shit on people too much, but the creatures in this movie, this had a budget in 1984 or 1986, whenever the fuck it was. I think it was 84. $1.25 million.
Are you sure? Are you sure it wasn't just $1.25?
No, it was, yeah, really. It was $1.25 million. We've seen movies older than this that had a much lower budget and pulled off creatures that were done so much better.
How about Phantasm?
Yeah.
Talk about a budget that made good. Phantasm,
Evil Dead, all the practical effects in those were done much better. These were, and remember Joe Bob even made a comment about them that they could only afford to do their arms and their heads.
They ran out of money for bodies and latex and shit.
So yeah, it didn't look good. They had these eyeballs that literally looked like there was light bulbs screwed into their sockets. it just looked like melted plastic to me. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like somebody took like some melted plastic, possibly took like a Halloween mask and some like arms from a Halloween costume, melted it and just shaped it into something else. And didn't do a very good job of doing it.
Speaking of puppy, that's my next bad, just puppy. When we see what happened to that poor dog. And it's not like they found the puppy in the sewers where it was taken. It's back in the photographer's basement. You know, the basement with sewer access? Yeah. Which means this chud took this puppy around as a snack for the road. And when he was done with it, he just mounted it in the basement for someone to find.
He ate the wife, took the dog, I guess, like killed it, but decided that he didn't want to eat it, so just hung it up somewhere, like in a completely different location.
He probably like took a few bites and realized, this isn't as good as the other stuff.
Yeah. What I got next for my bad list is that you have somebody that's that heads a department that's in charge of like that handles like toxins and poisons and things like that should know a thing or two about like how safe handling goes. Allowed like all this toxic waste to be put in the sewers and is surprised that it had adverse effects on anyone it came in contact with. And plus thought that a good idea to get rid of these creatures would be flooding the sewers with poisonous and flammable gas.
Well, they couldn't be burned. Like, the fire wasn't the point. It was just like they had to asphyxiate them because their skin was too hard, like apparently bullet resistant.
But yet, a girl that looks like she weighed like 72 pounds cut one's head off with one slice, which I'm sure was just like a prop or decorative sword.
I got nothing.
Yeah. Like,
they fucking blew it.
Yes.
If they're supposed to have hard skin, you'd think like if it can repel the metal of a bullet, it should be able to like handle the metal of a sword.
It's like, Jesus, she this, like I said, like she looks like she weighs about 75 pounds soaking wet, is pregnant, dispatches one of these things easily with like with a decorative sword that she just pulled off the wall. Jesus, give her a sword and then send her down the sewer. She'll take care of this thing, no problem. She will solve your fucking problem right there.
Yeah, you got your own little like pre-Buffy going on. This lady is there's so many bads around this lady who like her character herself is not especially bad. They just put her in such badly written situations.
Oh yeah. No, like, she was not a good character.
Like the shower tease. No boobs, but apparently like blood, rust, or poop explodes in her face. And this is one of the few times a scream would be realistic and an expected, reasonable reaction, and we do not get it. The curtain gets flung open, but instead of us seeing the creature or like her being attacked, she just covers her eyes, and the fucking scene cuts away. What the fuck?
Oh my god. That scene, okay, the shower drain clogs, and she pulls out a clog, which causes like an eruption of blood.
She popped like a poop bubble in the sink, like, in the drain.
And all I can think about is like, how the fuck would that happen? Like, do you have any idea how many steps that would take in order for that to happen? What these fucking chud monsters would have to do to have made that happen?
Because this is a spot where they should have no access. This is a very tiny pipe.
Like, gravity would not... The fucking chuds would have somehow have reversed gravity in those fucking pipes.
And the water is constantly pushing that down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how a drain works. Gravity pulls water down. But somehow, what must have been like 7 gallons of blood somehow comes shooting out of that thing. And it's like, so, how would that happen? They're pulling people down into the sewers, killing them, eating them. Are they siphoning off the blood first and then like using some kind of pump to pump it back up into like the fucking shower drains?
Because they're so... If they're so prone to littering, like you'd think like they would just leave the blood with the heads. But no, they got the blood and they're like, well, we got this pump. I mean, when else are we going to use it?
that scene made no fucking sense. They just wanted like to do like a jump scare and like a gross out because now she's covered in like fucking blood. Okay, I get that.
Or poop or rust. We just don't know. It's brown.
Either way, it makes no fucking sense.
And she's in a shower, which means like this is like the least amount of time she will be dirty. She just has to look towards the water and she's already like halfway done.
Yeah, like she's, oh my god, it was just such a stupid scene. Oh
what flings open the shower curtain because we see it get ripped. So we think she's going to get attacked, but she just covers her eyes like she's playing peekaboo. What the fuck was that?
Yeah. Okay, so I got to say this because like we don't actually see any kills happen. Like, there's nothing. Everything is just implied kills, right? We do see, like, okay, there's a scene where a couple of times where we see people get pulled into sewers, like the lady at the beginning getting pulled into the like, underneath the manhole cover. We see the reporter that gets pulled into one of the tunnels.
The old man gets pulled out of the phone booth while the veal is just sitting in the corner, all shell-shocked.
When the monsters crash the diner, and like, we see all that. We see, like, the monsters attack people. It cuts away, it goes to a different scene. Like, then we see like dead bodies and shit afterwards, but we never actually see any kills happen. We don't see the monsters actually kill anybody. Like, correct me if I'm wrong about that, but like that
we see a man shoot another man, but he's still alive by the time the credits are rolling. So that's not even a kill in itself.
Yeah, but what I mean is
it's an injury,
at least by the creatures.
Oh, not even them either.
No, like, we don't actually see the Chuds kill anyone, right?
Yeah, there's so many off-screen kills.
And even when, like, they attacked the apartment next door and, like, knocked in the door where the little kid's on the other side, like the little toddler. Like, I mean, we're assuming that, you know, the toddler and his mother that we don't even see, we hear her off camera, like, talking to him. So we're assuming they busted down the door and ate those two. So, as far as we know, like, maybe the Chuds are completely innocent and haven't killed anyone.
You walk in and they're standing over a dead body. I know what you're thinking.
It's not what it looks like. He fainted. I was giving him CPR.
It's not my fault that my breath was toxic.
So it's just like they couldn't even bother like to put a scene where like to see like a Chud kill anyone, and I think it's just because the costumes and like the prosthetics were just that bad that they couldn't make it look realistic enough. They weren't concerned about anything else in the movie looking realistic, but this was just too much for them. All right, what else you got?
George and AJ finally meet in the sewers. And how the hell is AJ the calm, collected voice of reason in this fucking pair?
Yeah, really. Yeah, it was a total role reversal at the time. By the time they get to that scene.
Yeah, George was supposed to be like this guy with a bit of a temper, but otherwise a collected person in a stressful situation.
Yeah.
But no, he meets the Reverend, and Senior Meth Head suddenly is the one that's just like, hey, listen, we got it. He's the guy with the plan and the nerves of steel. It's like, did you remember who your characters are?
Yeah. Well, I got nothing else that I want to talk about. Like, I've already spent way too much time on this movie than it deserves. So do you have anything else to knock off before we move on?
Yeah, I'll just blast through. There was one correction I think I have for Joe Bob himself. Joe Bob was making a comment about how Victor one of the bums who got chudded, had a gun, but he was taking George's gun. George is the one that had the gun, so Joe Bob made a mistake.
Oh, it's funny. Funny you mentioned that. We actually, I didn't make a note of it, but I do remember like myself and Annetta talking about that. So yeah, so Joe Bob. I never ever said this before, but Joe Bob was wrong.
When you've had a track record of like, 25 years, one mistake every couple of years is still a damn great ratio to have.
Oh, yeah. He was, he was getting that was, late into the movie. He'd had a few beers. He's not going to catch every detail, okay?
Yeah, who knows what he was under, and when you're working with Darcy the mail girl, your eyes may not always be on the screen.
Yep. Despite the fact that she looks like someone autonomized a mannequin, but yeah.
Then the model screams for help out of a window through which she can see nobody is there. And
yeah.
My final thing, which I guess might border on what the fuck, is what the fuck is in that van's tires? Because the movie ends with a van, the driver of a van being shot. His van kind of just comes to a stop over a manhole cover and then explodes. And you think it has to be in the van's tires where this exploding gas is, because if the explosive gas was in the sewers, then, flames would be shooting out of all the manhole covers because the entire sewer system would explode. So it has to be just the van that explodes.
No, but they did mention, like, in this, there was one scene, and I believe that I read somewhere that there was a line added to this movie in post-production that they said that these vans, be careful driving with the vans because they've loaded them with explosives.
So it was an explosive van.
I don't know what kind of explosives they had, like, in 1984 that, like, exploded by being slightly jostled, because I'm pretty sure they weren't just, like, driving around with just, like, raw nitroglycerin. Load them in the back, like they were about to build it, like blasting to put a new railroad through the U.S. But they add that in as some kind of explanation about why the van explodes so easily after, like, after its front tire going down into a manhole, it explodes. But I'm like, that's your explanation? That they was loaded with explosives? That still makes no fucking sense. Why are they driving around with, like, vans packed with, like, explosives that are so touchy they go off when the van
Did Pinto make vans?
In the New York City.
Oh my gosh, because, if it was the gas in the sewers, Bosch was near a roadside rain runoff access thing. Like those things that are kind of like manhole covers, but they're not, like the ones that Pennywise used to get Georgie. What are they if they're not manholes?
Yeah.
Like they're just like roadside rain runoffs?
It's just like it's just like the grates to
storm drains then. Yeah, because if that gas was ignited by this exploding van, like those things would be venting the gases. Like all the gas would be venting out through those. Those things weren't sealed. Yeah. How the fuck can you be gassing all the sewers?
Have you learned nothing from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
Had they not learned anything from a movie that won't come out for another 6 years?
Yeah, like how dare they not learn the lessons of a movie that came out like 5 years later?
If that gas was explosive, I think we would have been treated to Bosch's head getting roasted, because he was laying in front of a roadside. He was laying in front of a storm drain.
Nothing about this movie made fucking sense. All I could picture in my mind was like fucking, like, these vans were loaded up with, like, stacks and stacks of TNT sticks, and, like, with a big, like, fucking cartoon plunger sitting on top, and when the guy goes over the bump, like, the plunger drops.
A box falls on the plunger.
Like some kind of fucking cartoon, like, he hits the bump and nothing happens, and he's like, and then all of a sudden, like, a fucking, like, little bird or something flies in and lands on it. So, yeah, nothing about this movie made sense, man. It was a fucking mess. Like, the more I think about it, the more it pisses me off that, like, they could not put together a fucking coherent thought in this movie.
All you needed is someone who cared about the plot to just, like, have it read it to someone who gives a fuck, like, who wants their friend to do, at least decent, like, not massively successful, but, competent at best.
But, like, all it took, like I said earlier, like, I mean, not that it was a great concept to begin with, but have it, okay, so some company is dumping toxic waste into the sewers, and it comes in contact with some homeless people that mutates them. You didn't have to make, like, a fucking, like, monster suit. Just have them, like, fucking go nuts, like, get a little bit zombie-like or something. And I don't mean, like, like, do a zombie movie, but kind of, like, have them go a little bit rabid and cannibalistic. That's all you had to do.
Night of the Living Dead had, like, very little makeup. And it sold the idea of these demented, altered humans.
If you're making a movie and you don't have the budget to do a whole lot, the biggest mistake you can make is try to do a whole lot with it. Like, scale back a little bit, work within your budget.
Again, like, you got the idea of that, like, all the CHUDs are going to be gassed in sewers. You've already established that apartments have sewer access, so the CHUDs can just simply escape through the apartments. And in fact, one does.
Yep.
Because he attacks the model who yells for help to an empty alley.
Yeah, it's just a mess. Okay, I think we've talked about this enough. Let's wrap it up. The only thing that I want to hear about this movie is your segment, and I'm glad it's you and not me, because I don't know what I would talk about.
Oh my god, there is just so little to actually choose from for my kill of the week. And that I guess the winner by default for the only kill that we actually see on screen, since none are performed by CHUDs, is the Pinto van.
Yeah.
Because that driver gets shot, parks on a manhole cover, goes boom, and that van is engulfed. So this is the only time we see someone sustain a massive injury and definitely not escape or be seen later. Like, they're fucking dead in front of us. You know, off-screen kills, you got to do a whole lot better than this movie if you want to be awarded for an off-screen kill.
Yeah, like, I mean, right. Like, it can't be the kill of the week if you don't actually see the kill.
Yeah, it's not the corpse of the week.
It's not corpse of the week. It's not like the cutscene of the week or the aftermath of the week.
The critical injury of the week.
Yeah, so, yeah. Again, fuck this movie. You have a movie where, like, fucking, at least, like, we probably saw at least a dozen people die, or at least a dozen people in the movie got killed, and the only fucking kill you actually see is a fucking guy that drives his van that's made of plastic explosives into a manhole. Fuck. That's CHUD!
The Ford C450.
It fucking sucks. Don't watch it.
It's not great. Don't look at it.
Don't even bother. Like, literally, if you're gonna watch it, watch it like we did on Shudder, and just watch it for what Joe Bob had to say about it. And he disliked this movie as much as we did. But no matter what we think of this movie, we want to know what you think of it. Have you seen it? Were you planning on seeing it, but we changed your mind? Did you actually like this movie and think we're full of shit? You're wrong, but you can still tell us if you want to. And you got a few ways of doing that. First of all, you can go the old-fashioned route. You can email us at graveyardshiftpod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, of course, for anyone that's still doing that, at GYS underscore horror pod. Underhorror is a whole different thing. Don't put in that.
That's my side business, because the Patreon's not doing the best.
Yeah. Get on that Twitter, guys, so, Mike can stop being the underwhore. You can follow us on Facebook.com, like, if you can borrow your grandparents' account or something, and look us up on Facebook.com/thegraveyardshiftpod. Of course, we're on Instagram at Instagram.com/graveyardshiftpod. Now, speaking of Patreon, if you'd like Mike to stop having to do his little side business as the underwhore, you can head on over to patreon.com/graveyard. There you can donate to the show, and your dollar goes a long way. If you do sponsor $1 per month, that little amount, it helps us out greatly with the production costs of the show, and it gives you immediate access to some pretty nice Patreon bonus episodes. These are available only to our Patreon paying donors. We do them a little differently than we do the regular show. Like, if we cover a movie, we don't just do the good and bad. We do a complete plot synopsis from start to finish. And sometimes we do other stuff, not just movies. We will do horror-based TV shows, video games.
Shorts.
Shorts.
Video games.
I just said that. Top 10 lists, whatever we think of.
Like, memory medicine for Mike.
Yeah. We literally, like, it gives us a chance to break loose, and based on what some of our Patreon donors have told us, they quite enjoyed them. So check those out. Of course, if you want to support us, but you just don't have the funds to do it, we understand. You can still help us out a ton by rate, reviewing, and subscribing on whatever format you get our podcasts. I can guarantee you pretty much every one of them has those options, so that helps us out a ton. You can share us on all those lovely social media platforms like we just talked about. Share them, share them with friends, and just share them by word of mouth. Let people know. If you know someone that you think would like to listen to us two guys talk about horror movies, then tell them about us. And Mike, besides this show, you've got a bunch of other stuff going on, so why don't you tell everyone about that?
I've got the Playing with Power podcast, where me and Ivan read Nintendo Power magazines. We're currently in 1997, just finishing Turok, and we're looking forward to seeing what else the year can bring. Looking forward to hearing about GoldenEye now that we finally had a chance to play it.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that was exciting. Finally got a chance to meet Ivan in person, and he's a good dude, man. He drove all the way up from Rochester to hang out with us during the con, and we went up Saturday night to a video game bar, which was just phenomenal. Absolutely loved it. Had such a great time, and he's as good a dude as I thought he was. He was just amazing.
It was a fun time. Everybody was great. He joined us for Comicon, joined us for games. It was fantastic.
Yeah, so thanks for that, Ivan, man. That was a good time.
Yep. And you can also hear me and him on the Taste Test. We'll be covering Paperboy eventually. I keep trying to get some time to play it, but then Persona 5 keeps saying, you could be playing an old game from the Nintendo era, or you could finish me and get all the achievements. And I'm like, I'm such an achievement whore.
And just a whore in general.
Trophy whore. And then there's also the podcast I do with Rich, who was also with us. Great times.
Yes. What a weekend, man. Like, I got to meet all these guys. Like, and I mean, you're very familiar with Rich, and you talk to Ivan a lot more than I do, like, on your podcast. But, it was so good, and Rich really helped us out a lot. You're going to hear all that nice stuff when we get all that audio. There's, holy shit, so much of it we need to go through and edit. But, he was great, like, to take that time to go and help us out with that.
Yep, and you can hear me and him doing Tech Chatter, the tech discussion podcast, and also Schlock Chatter. That show hasn't been released yet because he's, for all the good he is, he's kind of, with that show, he's kind of turning into Smog, where he's just like sitting on the pile of podcasts and he's like, this is my horde. How about sharing it with some of us? Well, I could, but then I wouldn't have as much.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll be shared.
Yeah, I got a feeling it's going to be a good one. All the other shows are good quality stuff, so if it sounds like something you'd like to check out, then please do. I'm sure Mike and all his co-hosts would very much appreciate it. Just like we appreciate you guys, you lovely listeners. We do it all for you. Not really. We do it for ourselves, too, because both of us like to hear ourselves talk. But we've talked to a lot of people. Like, it was good to talk. We get messages and stuff quite a bit, but it was good to talk to some people live and hear their thoughts on the show. And they were grateful for our show, and it really made us happy.
And to be recognized by some people at Comicon. That was mind-blowing. Yeah,
not recognized because of how we look, because nobody knows what the fuck we look like. But saw our shirts and recognized the show and, want to talk with us and get pictures taken. It was just so good. That actually, made me feel so appreciative of what everyone has done for us by listening to the show. Like, we really do thank you guys. Even it was great to meet some new people, and they had questions about what we do when they saw our shirts and what we were doing at Comic-Con, because we of course drew some attention when we got like three of us guys walking around with a camera rig and microphones talking to people. So of course, there was eyes on us. So we did a lot of that, explaining what we're there for, what we do. But to have people just see us and realize that hey, I listen to these guys on I listen to this guy's podcast, and I want to go up and talk to him. That was great. That made me really happy. So thank you all for that.
And the people who didn't recognize us, by the time they realized we weren't as important as we looked, we already charmed our way into their hearts.
Yeah, it was too late. We'd already conned them into talking to us. So Too bad, losers. But yeah, either way, guys, we don't say it enough. We could never say it enough, but really, we appreciate you guys so much. You guys that chat us up on social media, that download our episodes every week, and just have good, honest chats with us about your love of horror. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. It makes all this worthwhile for sure. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now that all that mushy crap's out of the way, I guess that's it for us. I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. I don't know Ryan K, who I hasn't talked to. All I know about him is he suggested this movie. I don't know if he suggested it because he liked it or didn't like it.
Maybe he didn't like
either
us.
Way, fuck you for suggesting it. Go to hell. Never talk to us again. But I'm joking. Like, seriously, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. Like, it's not good by any means, but either way, good or bad, we appreciate all the suggestions, guys. And we are going to be back next week with another movie suggestion. Hopefully something we'll enjoy a little better, but if we don't, we'll make the best of it. But until then, I am Sheldon.
And I'm Mike.
And thank you again for joining us on The Graveyard Shift. Get the fuck out of here, you fucking C.H.U.D.